Welcome back to another episode of the Find Food Freedom Podcast. This is your host, Sam Previtt, and I am so delighted that you are here. Today is our last and final day in the 10 weeks of diet culture series. We have covered a wide variety of fad diets, of food rules, or just even like more so mainstream pop culture dieting bullshit, I guess you could say, in this series. And today we're going to take the opportunity to pivot and talk about New Year's resolutions. I put up a question box on Instagram and asked people, what are your biggest struggles, fears, obstacles headed into all of these holidays and then going into the new year? And some of the answers I received, I screenshotted them and I pulled them up here. A lot of the answers looked like this: the resolution bullshit, the diet restriction noise from all my friends, a lot of pressure to have body related New Year's resolutions, the constant diet talk in the new year, um, you name it, it's there. And so we got hundreds and hundreds of responses, of course, all different, but I was seeing a lot of themes of people feeling pressured to start a diet in the new year or have a weight related goal in the new year. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk all things New Year's resolutions and what we think about them as a team of dietitians and certified intuitive eating counselors. But before we do that, I do want to start with our Find Food Freedom win of the week. And I love, just a friendly reminder, every episode that you listen to, I love to pull like a direct message out of our DMs, whether it's on Insta or TikTok or our podcast, if it's, one of the reviews that we get. So this is your friendly reminder to rate, review, subscribe, and leave a review, because if you do, chances are you can be featured on here. And in addition to that, anything we get from clients. So of course, we're constantly in communication with our clients, and anything that they share with us, I like to provide a win of the week so you can have a glimmer of hope. You can see that people that are walking these intuitive eating journeys and these food freedom journeys are making progress and what that looks like. So, this win of the week comes from a previous client of mine. She was a group coaching client all the way back in 2020. She was in our first group that we ever launched. I remember leading that group and thinking like, can I do this? Because I'd only ever worked with clients one-on-one, and a group setting is a very different setting to navigate. And it was by far one of my favorite things that I've ever done. And we still do it today. So we've been running group. We'll be going on 4 years now as we head into 2024. So this was a previous group client, Rachel, and she wrote to me and said, I know that our group discussions helped me so much when I lost my gallbladder this past year and had to make adjustments post surgery. I was worried that not eating certain things because of the unpleasant GI consequences would feel like restriction, but I am now in so much more of a healthier place and can separate medical intervention from dieting and restriction. Thank you so much, from one super happy former client. So, first of all, thank you for sharing that with us, Rachel. And I was really grateful when Rachel sent me this message, because I feel like this is such a good, even if you have never had your gallbladder removed or have never had like a major surgery, I think what the overarching message that Rachel's, message talks about is that medical nutrition therapy, medical intervention is a part of intuitive eating and food freedom. And I think there's such a misconception on social media that people think, if I'm going to have food freedom or if I'm going to become an intuitive eater, it's fuck it. I'm going to eat whatever I want, whenever I want, even if I have a medical disease and condition. And, fuck nutrition, fuck health, and it's just a free for all. And don't get me wrong, you have 100% unconditional permission to eat. But if a client comes to us with a medical disease or condition, with some type of surgery they're undergoing, with any form of concern for a lab value or anything that they genuinely want to improve and make sure that they're tending to, we can help with that. We are medical professionals. We are registered dietitians. We can talk about medical nutrition therapy and intervention. And so I love that Rachel was at such a great place in her recovery that she was able to, on her own, navigate. Like, there are some changes I'm going to have to make because my digestive system is going to work a little differently now. But that's not a restriction. If we look at the intention, right? That's not a restriction because I can't have that and I'm not allowed and I'm such a bad person if I'm eating it. It's because I genuinely want to take care of my body and there's some things that I might need to alter so I can feel the most pleasant in my body physically, mentally, and emotionally. And so I just thought that was a great thing to share because it can easily help us myth bust one of the biggest myths I see, that if you're doing intuitive eating or if you're on a food freedom journey, that like you don't give a shit about your health and you're just throwing away, heavy air quotes, your health. And that could not be further from the truth. So, what a great bridge that we can use this Fine Food Freedom win of the week to talk about today's topic, which is going to be New Year's resolutions. And we're going to talk about how we're going to center resolutions if you want to do them. Huge caveat, don't have to do them. But if you want to do them, around inclusion and not restriction. So let's back it up here. When we talk about the 10 Weeks of Diet Culture series, and what we've been doing is we've been dispelling myths. We've been fighting through all of the diet culture bullshit that we see all the time. And I want to be very clear that this episode in particular is not anti humans who have New Year's resolutions. You're allowed to have a resolution. You're allowed to do whatever the fuck you want. I'm here as a registered dietitian, certified intuitive eating counselor, and certified personal trainer to offer a sense of curiosity around resolutions. We're going to talk about some great questions that can help you reflect on resolutions in years past. To we're going to plant seeds about, okay, maybe if these things didn't serve me previously, how can I pivot and how can I still genuinely improve my health if that's something I want to do, and use resolutions as a tool instead of something that's going to harm me. So, I always love to use myself as an example when I can, and I'm happy to do that here today. So, when I reflect, oh Lord, when I reflect on my New Year's resolutions from, oh gosh, uh, probably like my college days, my young 20s, and think about, I wish you know what, I'm actually going home to Pittsburgh at the end of this week. Um, and I wish that I was at home because I'm sure I could find some old diaries that had these in there. Like, I remember writing these things down and claiming them as my truth and rules, and that I was going to live them out. And every year was different, but two that really stick out to me, two previous New Year's resolutions that really stick out to me. One was, I'm never going to eat carbs or sugar for the entire year. Like, when I tell you that I made that statement, that proclamation of like, I will not eat carbs or sugar ever again, I really believed it. And I want to say that I maybe got 24 hours, and not even like, it was probably more like grains or like sugary, candy, like ice cream, that kind of stuff. I probably ate fruit, which are carbs. But I'm thinking back to like when I allowed heavy air quotes, I was shaming myself, I was guilting myself. But when I finally broke down and ate like pizza or, a calzone, I remember, like, I'm remembering these things. I was just acting like I hadn't ate food in weeks. It was like stuffing my face, like And I just remember having so much guilt and shame that I was like, you can't even last one fucking week. Like, you're a terrible person. You're so unhealthy. Like, just berating myself when, like, listen to what my resolution was. It was, I'm not going to eat carbs or sugar for the entire year. What? And I'm here to tell you that researchers, they suggest that over 90% of New Year's resolutions fail. And this is often because they're so large, they're so unrealistic, they're so restrictive that they're never meant to last, right? That's like what a diet is. And so I think about there was that one that comes to mind. And then I do remember, I don't remember if it was like the same year, but there was a few years that I had like a lot of disordered shit going on. And there was one year that I was like, I'm going to work out every single day. Now, please know there's nothing wrong with moving your body. There's nothing wrong with engaging in movement that you enjoy. But that was not my goal. My goal was I'm going to go to the gym. I remember that I would go on the elliptical like a freaking hamster on a wheel and just like I would not let myself off of it. I would have to go on it for like a certain amount of time. I hated it. I did not enjoy it. And I told myself, I was like, I'm going to work out every single day this year. And, whenever I broke that, probably within the first week, it totally spiraled into you're a horrible person. How could you not do this? You're so lazy. You're out of, whatever, all of those thoughts. And so why I'm sharing these with you is not only are these lived experiences and personal experiences, but I've also heard very similar things from the clients that we support at Find Food Freedom over the years of them unpacking their years of in diet culture and their years of disordered eating and restrictive dieting. And so I want to invite you to get curious about what are some New Year's resolutions that you had in the past? And specifically ones that felt restrictive, if you can call out any. So, what did those New Year's resolutions look like? Did they motivate you? Did they give you positive feelings? Did they make you feel positive, pleasant? Or did they ever make you experience guilt and shame? And I say that because of course I just shared with you like while I was doing my resolutions, aka not eating carbs for like less than the 24 hours, or when I would hit my workout, right? I on the elliptical, I would feel like, yes, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm good. I'm a good person. But as soon as that broke, right? As soon as it couldn't be done anymore, there was no gray area. There was no self-compassion. There was no grace. There was no like, it's okay. Like it was, you are such a bad person. You're so disgusting. I felt so much guilt. I felt so much shame. And then that I want to have you also reflect and say, did you, when you weren't able to live out your resolution, because spoiler alert, the chances are you probably did it lead to like a fuck it mentality? And what I mean by that is like if it was a food related goal and you were not allowed to eat something, let's use my example. I wasn't allowed to eat carbs or sugar. It instantly led to me binging on said food, right? Like it instantly led to the complete opposite of the goal. Or if it was an like let's say an activity related resolution, did it lead to you neglecting the activity altogether? Right. So that like black or white thinking. Because for me, once I wasn't able to get that workout, right, it was like I have to work out every single day. And once I skipped one, it was like, fuck it. You, you failed. You can't do this. Screw it. You're done. And instead of like, maybe we can engage in a movement that we enjoy that makes us smile once a week. It was, you have to work out every single day. You have to go on the elliptical for this amount of time. You have to burn this amount of calories, blah, 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 blah. So if you weren't not able to fulfill your New Year's resolution, did it make you feel guilt or shame? And did it lead to that fuck it mentality and like the opposite, the complete like pendulum swing of behavior? And if yes, please know there's nothing wrong with you. There is literally nothing wrong with you. This is diet culture on a very specific example. And that's why, as a registered dietitian, certified intuitive eating counselor, and certified personal trainer that cares deeply about humans, I do not suggest traditional New Year's resolutions. If you want to do New Year's resolutions, then that is where I want you to get really intentional about what are things that I can include that enhance my life, that bring me joy, or that help me meet a goal that I may have, or to just think about what is the intention behind my New Year's resolution. If your intention is to shrink your body, to cut calories, to cut a food group, to not allow yourself to eat something. If you think that by completing your New Year's resolution that you're going to be a morally better person, all of these things are red flags that we need to be mindful of and bring awareness to that if that's happening, it's probably not going to feel pleasant when we don't live out that resolution. And so there's a couple different ways that we can go with this. I obviously want to offer some I guess you could call them substitutions. Like I want to offer some ideas if you're somebody who you're sitting here listening to this and you're saying, I genuinely want to improve my health. Like I want to improve my physical health, my mental health, my emotional health. I have goals related to range of motion or aerobic goals of how much I want to run, or chasing after my grandkids or my kids or whatever that thing is. Like if you have goals and you're like, no, I genuinely want to improve my health, but I just don't know how to set up my New Year's resolutions to enhance my experience, right? Then I want to offer some. Now, I also want to offer an alternative, which I've done this with a few clients over the years, and it has been so rewarding to see that we will do a huge shift away from New Year's resolutions and we do a New Year's bucket list. So this is completely separate from health, like the typical health promoting things that you think of. I think because of diet culture, we often, like when we think of health promoting, people often only think about the food that you eat and or moving your body. And don't get me wrong, if you want, resolutions related to that, we can talk about some gentle resolutions that can align with that. But it's also important that if we look at the determinants of health and the things that actually impact our health, our social connectedness equates to 24% of our overall health, which is more than our genetics and biology. And there are goals that we can set related to that that have nothing to do with food, that have nothing to do with movement, that are going to have huge benefits on your mental, emotional well-being. So that's where I want to go today is we're going to talk about like more of the typical ones, but shedding light on them from like an intuitive eating lens versus diet culture. And then I want to talk about some bucket list goals or bucket list resolutions, if you will, that some of you might find that aligns with you a lot more. And there's some really, really, really fun ideas that I've done with clients in the past, that you might be like, you're a dietitian. Why are you talking about this? But it is so helpful because it steers you away from the traditional restriction and really sets you up for a great year. And I've done some of these before and it's been really helpful. So let's go through the typical ones first just as examples, and then honestly I'm excited to get to the bucket list stuff because I personally think that's more fun. So, okay. Let's talk about, I used my examples, right? Typical New Year's resolutions, what we see. I want to lose X pounds, right? I don't want to eat sugar the whole year. I'm cutting out carbs. I'm not eating past 6 p.m. all year. I'm working out every day. So the easiest way to tell, like, do I have a restrictive New Year's resolution? One, does it cut out something completely? Two, is it all or nothing? Is it black or white? And then we can go back to the questions I asked earlier. Does it make you feel guilt or shame if you don't complete it? Does it make you feel like you are morally a better person if you do complete it? So those are things we want to catch as red flags. Now, here are some examples of health promoting New Year's resolutions that, again, what we're talking about right now is more typical of related to food and movement. Now, please hear me when I say health is not a moral obligation. You do not owe it to anyone to, or even yourself, to make a New Year's resolution like this. I am offering these as examples of if you want to. If you're saying, I genuinely want to do this, but I don't know how to do this in a way that isn't restrictive or rooted in diet culture. And please note that nutrition, movement, health in general is very nuanced and individualized. So some of the examples that I'm going to give, you might be like, that doesn't relate to me at all. This is not helpful. So take what serves you, leave the rest behind, right? All right. So one example would be when there are people who, let's say, are really struggling to increase their nutrient dense foods. Instead of saying, I'm going to make half of my plate fruits and vegetables at every meal. Wow, that is a lofty goal. I can promise you that mama ain't doing that over here. So, can we try one new piece of produce each week? So, adding colorful foods to our plate it enhances our nutrient density, right? It enhances our vitamins and minerals. Instead of every single meal having to be a half plate fruit and veggie intake, what if we just add one piece of new produce? So, what I mean by this, when you're going to the grocery store, look around. Do you see one thing that you maybe never tried before? Do you see one thing that's on sale? Do you see that looks good? Do you see one thing that's in season? For example, pears are in season right now. I don't usually buy pears. That's not like a usual thing in our household. But we've been buying a lot of pears because they've been on sale, they've been in season, and they're really delicious right now. So when we're looking at goals, it's adding. It's not saying I'm taking away carbs, I'm taking away sugar. We're saying, no, can we try one new piece of produce a week? You can keep a little list where then you look back at the how many weeks are in a year? 52. I don't even know. The 52 pieces of produce that you tried this year that you may have never tried because we didn't have that intention. Other goals, adding 5 minutes of meditation or movement per day. Now, I want to make it very clear that when I'm making a podcast, I have no idea who I'm speaking to. Some of you need to slow down. You're pushing yourself to an extreme with movement, and it would be helpful to take a minute and rest, to take a breath and stop doing and just be. And that's where the meditation, whether it's laying on your floor, sitting, I don't care where it is, right? Sitting in an environment that you really love. Maybe it's a room, maybe it's a porch, whatever it is. Some of you may be saying, I know I want to move my body, but it feels so daunting. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to, I don't know what to do. Walk out your front door 2 minutes and then turn around and come home. That's it. That's it. It's when we set the goals like I did back years ago where it's, I'm going to work out every single day for an hour. Like that is too much. It's restrictive, right? So this has so much nuance because again, these are not going to be, these will not relate to everybody that's listening. Some people come to us and they say, I don't drink any water. Like, I really want to drink more water. And they're going to say, I'm going to do a gallon of water a day. And they get one of those fucking huge water bottles that, like, I don't even know how big. I guess they're over a gallon and they have all the lines and you're supposed to drink. Okay. Here's my water trick. I want you to every night or as often as you remember, I want you to fill up a glass of water or a cup of water or a Yeti of water or whatever it is. And I want you to put it on your nightstand. And obviously, if you want to drink some of that before bed, feel free. But when you wake up, now you have that glass of water, that cup of water, whatever it is, while you are going to the bathroom, starting your shower, getting dressed for the day. You will start your day with that water, right? It's already there for you. It's there. You're starting the day with it. And some people like to drink it like before they get out of bed. You do not need to be like chugging water in your bed first thing in the morning. Totally is what works for you. Trying a new hobby. This is a huge one. This is one that I am personally working on. Um, I have a very interesting relationship with movement. I talk about it a lot on What the Actual Fork podcast. We actually had an episode come out a few weeks ago with Abby Chan where I share more about this. So go back to What the Actual Fork and listen to that. But I am putting it on myself and putting out in the universe that I'm going to take a tennis lesson in the new year. We have a place near our house that's like perfect. And I've had friends go there and love it. So I'm going to sign up for a tennis lesson. I've never played tennis. I know nothing about tennis. I know that they use the word love to like keep score or something. How cute is that? But I don't know anything about tennis. But I'm going to sign up and I'm going to try something new. And not because I'm trying to shrink my body or because for any diet culture reason, simply to add something to my life. If I dislike tennis and I find it boring and just not fun, then maybe I don't go back. But try something new. Maybe for you it's yoga, maybe it's gardening, maybe it's a pottery class. Maybe I don't know what it is, but try something new, something that you've been thinking about that you want to do. And lastly, another one that we could give as an example, again, inclusion, not restriction. Sign up for therapy. I know that comes with a lot of privilege, a lot of these things of having the funds and the means to be able to do so. But there are so many affordable forms of online virtual therapy now that can be so helpful. And this is a great way that you can really talk to a professional and work out all of the belief systems that we all have. We all have grown up with belief systems and been taught things that you do not have to continue that way. And so, of course, I would recommend getting a therapist that is, you know, has certifications in body image and eating disorder to ensure that they're not adding harm and they're able to talk about this stuff with you. But you know, it's just such an important thing. It's something that I really believe in that everyone, I wish everyone could have access to. Now, we're going to pivot here and we're going to talk about the bucket list instead. Now, earlier I said health is not a moral obligation, AKA, you don't owe anyone your health. You don't have to set a New Year's resolution. You don't have to do anything. New Year's is just another day. Just because the calendar ticks over to a new year, nothing's different. Your body still needs consistent fuel and nourishment. Your body still needs consistent hydration. It's just another day. But one thing, if you're saying, okay, I want to change completely, like I don't want any diet culture related goals, a bucket list can be really, really fun. And this can be things such as places you want to go or things you want to do. So we kind of already alluded to this, where it's like if it's taking a pottery class, taking a dance class, going to a specific restaurant, doing a little getaway weekend like at a town nearby that you've always wanted to drive to. Like you can absolutely make a list and just brain dump. Like don't judge yourself, don't shame yourself, just take a list and just let anything and everything come out that you could possibly think of. You could do travel, you could do, restaurants, you could do all these things and just kind of see what comes up for you. So that can be super fun of just things that I want to do this year. Having that list can be helpful because then whenever you feel like you're in a slump or, maybe it's like books you want to read or whatever, then you can turn to that list and pull something from it. Now, another thing that I've done with a client, and I do not remember where I got this. I did not make this up. So please, if any of you know who did, let me know because I would love to give them credit. But I see too much shit on the internet that I don't remember where I found this one. So the next thing when it comes to social connectedness, we talked a little bit about is making a list of your three people. And you're like, what the hell are 333 people? So I want you to take a list or a sheet of paper. And on one column, I want you to write 3 minutes. On the middle column, I want you to write 3 hours. And on the right side, I want you to write 3 days. So those are the column headers: 3 minutes, 3 hours, 3 days. And then I want you to take the people in your life that who are people that you want to spend 3 minutes with. Like at 3 minutes, you're like, I'm good here. Like it was great seeing you. It was great catching up with you, but like, bye. Who are the people that you want to spend 3 hours with? Like you love to engage in conversation with them. You love talking to them. You love, you know, all of those things. But at the end of 3 hours, you're like, it was so great seeing you. And like, I'm excited to go my separate way. Or like, that was great, filled up my cup, done. Then on the last column, the 3 days, who are people that you would absolutely love to spend 3 days with? Like like if you could in a dream world, drop everything and get away with this person. And it's like, oh my gosh, when we have this time together, these 3 days, like we would enjoy ourselves. We'd have great conversation. We'd laugh. Like, okay, so we have 3 minutes, we have 3 hours, we have 3 days. I want you to group the people in your life, and no one's going to see this. This is only for you. You don't have to feel bad about this. And I want you to look at that list. And are the people that you're spending or that are in your 3 minute list, are you giving them hours of your time? And are the people that are in your 3 days list, are you barely in touch with them? Because maybe they live like across the country. Like a lot of the people in my 3 days list, they live nowhere near me. They live nowhere near where I live. And so this can be so helpful because I think life is crazy, right? Life is fucking crazy. It's busy. We're always on our phones. We're scrolling. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on these social media platforms that just take our attention. Next thing we know, 2 fucking hours went by, and it's like, what have I even been doing? So I love this list because it helps you look at it and say, who are people this year that I really want to be intentional about reconnecting with? If you can go on a weekend trip with somebody in the 3 day category, amazing. But that takes a lot of privilege and time and, money and all of these things to be able to do that. But if you can do that, great. But is it just being able to FaceTime with someone in the 3 day category that you have not talked to in so long because life has gotten so crazy? And so this was something I did with a few different clients over the years. And we found that so much joy re-entered their life because they were reconnecting with people that they really wanted to. They were giving their time to relationships that fill up their cup. They were investing time into humans that they loved. And they were also checking with the people that are in the 3 minute category. Am I letting, like, am I letting them cross boundaries with me where like they don't need that much of my time? And it doesn't mean that you're gonna like break up with the person or like never talk to them again, but it allows you to see where can I reconnect with those this year that are so precious to me and that are so special to me. And I think that that can be so, so helpful. And like, how cool is that? That instead of anything related to food, related to body, that you can sit down and you can prioritize who am I going to reconnect with this year and connect with and be intentional about connecting with. Ooh, what an episode. So let's take a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. And I just really want to encourage you to do a lot of reflection with this episode. Don't feel guilt or shame. I know it's so easy for guilt and shame to come up, but reflect on your previous resolutions. Really think about this year for 2024. What do you want to feel and experience this year? If it's love, if it's peace, if it's contentment, if it's joy, are your resolutions the current ones that you're thinking about or the previous ones that you've done in years past? Did they get you to that word, right? Did they get you to what you want to feel and experience? And if the answer is no, we don't need to feel guilt or shame. Let's use this episode to catapult us into whatever feels right for us. So, again, I really want to encourage you to take what serves you from this episode. Anything that felt like it didn't align or that I wasn't talking to you, ignore it, just completely leave it. Um, and really get curious about what 2024 could look like as we move away from the restriction and look at what we can include in our life. So I thank you so much for being here with me on this episode. And again, if you enjoyed this episode, I would appreciate so deeply if you could please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want to hear more of. The more rating, the more reviews we get, the more people hear this. So it's really, really helpful that we can get this podcast into the ears of as many people as possible. So thank you for being here. We have tons of amazing episodes planned out for the new year, which I'm so excited about. And please just enjoy this time. We're in that weird, like, in between week before the new year. And remember that New Year's is just another day. Yeah, sure. It's 1-1, 1-1. Great. It's just another day. Just another day. So take a deep breath, listen to this episode on repeat if you need it. And I look forward to chatting with you next week. Bye bye.